Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. As always, I am excited to have this conversation because you all know that I have experienced a lot of growth in my business as a result of adding speaking engagements to my services. I have this commitment, I have made this commitment to help out as many folks as I can, especially my entrepreneurs who work in service based businesses. So, if you are a coach, you're a consultant, you're an author, if you are a content creator, especially, I am a big advocate for use your skills, use your thought leadership, use all of that and turn it into a powerful speech because there's somebody out there, there's at least one organization, I guarantee you, that would benefit from the knowledge that you can share as a speaker. So, before I jump into today's session, I do want to introduce myself for those of you who are joining for the first time. So, my name is MJ McConnor, and I am the founder of Inclusive Excellence Consulting, which is a full service diversity, equity, and inclusion consultancy. And I started my company in 2021, and I have been able to make three times what I made in the year 2022. So I made three times that amount this year as a result of adding speaking into the services that I provide. So, as an educator, for me, it just felt like a natural fit to say, you know what? I'm going to grow my business by engaging in more speaking sessions, by going to more conferences and presenting, and by just reaching out to organizations individually to let them know these are the topics I talk about. So if you have not had a chance to watch the first three live sessions that I did on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I highly encourage you to go back and watch those because I talk about very specific topics on each day. So that first day, I got into the details of how it can benefit you, how it can benefit you as an entrepreneur and a business owner to add speaking to your to the services that you provide as an organization. One of the biggest reasons that I got into it, and I talked about this a little bit, I think on day two, is that I learned really fast that consulting in particular can have a lot of this. One month you are killing the game, and the next month it is like, how do I eat this month? Right. So they call it the feast and famine cycle. And I think it's important for business owners in particular to think about ways to tackle that. And I have been able to successfully tackle some of that feast or famine cycle that we see through speaking engagements. So, on day two, I talked about some other topics related to how to really think about your audience. What do you want your speech to be on? How to narrow it down and come up with a topic. Today, what I'm going to talk about virtual versus in person. And this has been a big one for a lot of folks. And before I jump into that, before I talk about the benefits of doing virtual presentations and how to structure those and the benefits of doing in person, so you could do both. You can really excel as a speaker in both the virtual world and the in person. I want to revisit something that we talked about yesterday. So I issued a challenge and I challenged folks to go live. And I'm wondering, did anybody do that? So if you went live, if you gave it a shot, then I want you to comment in the chat that I went live and I talked about a topic that I'm passionate about and have expertise in. And if you did not do it, I want you to put in the comments when you plan to do it, because it's really important to exercise that muscle. And the reason I bring that up is because if you all have had a chance to see some of the different things that I do and some of the different opportunities that I've had the chance to be a part of, you'll know that one of the things that I got to do this year was be a part of the Roland Martin show. So I was a featured guest on there. And with the help of my mentor, I was able to connect with the producer of the show. The thing about it, though, is I did a live the day before on the very topic that I talked about on the Roland Martin show. I probably only had like maybe 3 or 4 people watch that live, but it was the right people. And that's the thing about presenting and speaking. You don't have to necessarily speak in front of an audience of 500 people in order for it to create opportunities that can lead to another opportunity. It can be one person who sees you in action, and it's the right person. It's the person, your target audience, and they're like, ah, yes, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to this particular topic. Let's have her on this show tomorrow. And just like that, it was a live where I talked specifically about the overturning of affirmative action in college admissions. And I talked about my research as it relates to HBCUs. And next thing I know, I'm on Roland Martin the next day talking about the very same topic. And that would not have happened if I did not go live, if I didn't put myself out there to show people, hey, I have expertise in this. This is a topic I enjoy talking about. I have researched it. I wrote a whole dissertation on historically Black colleges and universities, but nobody would know that unless I present that. And so that is the power of live. So when we talk about virtual presentations and virtual speeches versus in person, there are some things that you want to consider when it comes to the structure of your speech. For many of us, during the pandemic, it did open up certain opportunities to present virtually and to do more virtual work, which I think has been beneficial for many of us because it has opened up the opportunity for us to speak to a wider audience and not just within our region. A lot of times when you do speaking engagements, especially if you primarily do in person, sometimes you're restricted based on location. So you might only be able to travel to so many places. You can't necessarily travel out of the country if you want to do an international speaking engagement. However, when you speak virtually, you can speak anywhere in the world. And that is one of the benefits of doing virtual presentations. One of the questions I get is, well, will I get compensated the same amount? And absolutely, you can get compensated the same amount that you would charge to do an in-person presentation. There are keynote speakers out there right now who have made $10,000 from one virtual, presentation that they did for maybe a virtual conference or a virtual summit. So you can still get paid really well to do virtual speaking engagements, just the same way you would get paid doing in-person speaking engagements. So with the virtual presentations, there are some things to consider. And whenever people do virtual presentations, I always I encourage them to think about the format, the structure, to think about what kind of video conferencing software they'll be using. For example, will it be Zoom? Will it be Teams? Will you be able to do breakout sessions? Can you do polls? Is there a way for you to have audience engagement? And is there a way for it to be interactive? If you know in advance that it will be a webinar format where you won't necessarily be able to have folks write stuff in the chat or they can't come off mute, then you can set up your presentation and your speech accordingly. However, if you know that folks can actually unmute themselves to ask questions or to provide, different insights or to contribute to the discussion, then you can structure your speech a little bit different if you do want to have that audience engagement. So before you sign up or before before you do your presentation, if it's virtual, make sure you have all of those details in advance. And also find out if you'll have someone who's there to support you in the event that you have any technology issues or you need someone to help you, for example, with breakout sessions and polls and surveys and putting links in the chat, then make sure you have someone to support you while you're doing that. When it comes to in-person, you'll want to structure that a certain way based on based on what you're trying to deliver, like what kind of presentation you want to deliver. If you want it to be highly interactive and engaging, and maybe you want people to do activities, then ask about the setup of the room you'll be in. Will there be tables? Will there be a PowerPoint? Will there be microphones? All of those different things. Those are things you need to know in advance so that you are prepared. The worst thing that could happen is you show up. Well, one of the worst things, there are other things that could be worse, but you show up and things are not set up how they need to be set up. So you don't have, let's say, large sticky notes for folks to do activities at their tables. You don't have pins. You don't have the things you need for different breakout activities. So you want to make sure you have all of that planned and articulate it to the person who's helping you set up the speaking engagement in advance. Now, one thing I want to also mention, and I'm excited about this, is because I've had several folks message me directly and say, hey, can you help me with this? They have very specific questions. And as an educator, you all know I will come up with the program, some curriculum. So I will be offering a VIP intensive experience. So for folks who want to meet with me directly, and it's a one-on-one thing, it's not like a class where you have multiple folks in it. You'll actually have that individualized, focused attention where we can actually develop specific strategies and develop specific plans for how you're going to implement speaking into your business. And I want to say this right now. If you have already completed your business plan for 2024, go ahead, go back and edit that, and let's add speaking engagements to that business plan. Because now that we know how much speaking can help boost visibility, it can boost your brand, your reputation, and position you as an expert. Now that we know that, there is no reason why this should not be a part of your strategy for growing your business and growing your personal brand. So I want to tell you a little bit more about the program that I'm offering. Because like I said, I had several people reach out to me with really specific questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer an opportunity for folks to register for the program that I mentioned. It's called the VIP Workshop Intensive. So one of the things that I love doing is I love offering trainings and workshops. I do it for organizations all across the nation. And in this particular intensive, you will have the opportunity to develop strategies on how to secure and leverage paid speaking opportunities. We'll talk about specific techniques on how to develop your speech. So that's a big one because a lot of times people, they'll go up and speak about a topic, but it may not necessarily, you have to think about so many things because you want your speech to resonate with your audience. And this is the one way where you had an impactful speech is if you have folks lined up at the end and say, hey, I need you to deliver the same speech to my organization, right? So if you have folks who are wanting to hear your speech again, or they want more information about how they connect with you, they can connect with you, then that means you had an impactful speech. And that is one of the things that I want to be able to help folks with on an individual level, though. That's not something that I can do within 20 minutes here on live. Another thing that I'll talk about is just different ways to position yourself as a leader in your industry, as an influential voice in your industry. And like I mentioned, when I did the interview with Roland Martin, that is the perfect example of how I was able to really position myself as someone who knew about what was happening at that time because I had done research on it. I had, anybody who knows me knows that I'm in it. When I do work related to equity, inclusion, and research, I am really focused on that. And because I was able to articulate that live and people saw me go live and talk about that topic, I was able to be an influential voice on that particular topic. And so I really want to help entrepreneurs in particular Um, really learn how to position yourself as an influential voice in your industry. So I've been really fortunate. I've had the opportunity to speak at organizations like Carnival Cruise Lines, the Better Business Bureau, Farmers Insurance, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, among many other organizations, right? And so I do want to see us reach that level where we are confident in the message that we're delivering impactful speeches. And like I said, there's so many different ways to grow your brand and visibility. And I think this is a winning way to do it because it has been proven to work for so many people. There are people who do nothing but speak, and that's it. That's their living, and they earn some people millions. When you think about some of the bigger folks, the Tony Robbins of the world, and so many others, they earn millions just sharing something, sharing knowledge that they have that can help benefit others. So I am going to put the link to this particular program that I'm offering. I'm going to put it on LinkedIn, and I'll also be sure to send the link directly to folks who have been consistently showing up to these live sessions, because 2024, we have to go into 2024 with the mindset of, all right, whatever I did in my business last year, we're going to grow this business this upcoming year, right? And so the goal is to always become bigger and better and to do things differently if something needs to be done differently, right? So if you feel like you didn't quite meet that financial goal you wanted to meet, then this is a great way to do it by adding this into your toolkit. Like I like to say that a lot, your toolkit. What's in your toolkit? But by adding this to your toolkit. And so tomorrow will be our last day. Again, I want you to bring a notebook, bring your questions or anything that you want to ask in the chat, different feedback. I'm always open to hearing what has worked for you and maybe some of the other things you would like to hear me discuss on that last day. So if you have not attempted to try a live discussion yet, just to kind of showcase some stuff that I really want to encourage you to do that. And then if you do want to really profit from this, and if you really want to build this, but you need help developing that one-on-one, like maybe you need a one-on-one session where we really build this out and you have a plan that you can execute for next year, then I would love to meet with you. So feel free to connect with me here on LinkedIn. You can message me directly, or you can also connect with me via email. My email address is marym@ieconsultingfirm.com. And I am so excited about seeing where people go in their businesses next year. We are going to all thrive and excel, you all. Last thing I'm going to close with is because this is something that I used to suffer from, is I would have a whole lot of information and I would never implement. I would never hit that execution stage. And it only when it came to certain things. Like, so for example, I love YouTube and I would watch all these YouTube tutorials on how to do something really specific. But then when it came time to execute, I didn't know. It was like this paralysis of, what if nobody shows up to my workshop? Or what if this happens? And then finally, I just said, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. I have to get out of my own way and just go for it. And the results have paid off tremendously. And I want that for other people. I get passionate a little. I try not to get emotional, but I really do want to see entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants and people who work in all of these different, content creator roles. I want to see us win because I know how hard entrepreneurship can be at times. And it doesn't have to be that hard if we come up with strategies together, if we're working as a collective to think about, okay, what can we do collectively to grow our businesses? So that's why I'm like, this is what I can contribute to the world. I can contribute this knowledge, and hopefully there's at least a few folks out there, hopefully more than a few, several folks out there who can really benefit from this. And I want to also, in addition to the live challenge, so you got to go live at some point and just give it a try. I also want to do the pay it forward challenge. So if you have some knowledge that you feel like would be beneficial for another entrepreneur, I want you to pay it forward by sharing that knowledge and talking about it. Maybe talk about it in your live. That could be the topic that you choose to go live with. So that is our discussion for today. I look forward to Friday, our last discussion. And these videos will be available on LinkedIn. They'll be on there at any time so you can go back and replay these. And I look forward to seeing you all on Friday.